They were just two sisters taking a shortcut home, until they stumbled across a man, unconscious, bruised, and completely alone. They didn't scream. They didn't run. They stayed and they saved him. What they didn't know was that the stranger they rescued wasn't just anyone. He was a billionaire, a SIL, and his world was about to collide with theirs. Hey, story lovers. Welcome back to the channel, where ordinary people meet extraordinary moments. Today's story, it's about two brave little girls, a man who had everything, and a twist that no one saw coming. You'll be on the edge of your seat. So before we dive into this incredible tale of courage, kindness, and connection, tap that like button if you believe in the power of compassion. Subscribe so you never miss a story that moves your soul, and share this video with someone who believes there's still good in the world. Stay until the very end, because what happens when the billionaire wakes up will surprise you, and maybe even restore your faith in humanity. Let's begin. The morning sun had barely risen when 8-year-old Nivea Johnson spotted something that made her heart race with fear. There, lying motionless beside the old oak tree in their front yard, was a man in an expensive suit. His face was pale, almost gray, and he wasn't moving at all. For a terrifying moment, Nivea thought he might be dead. Heaven, heaven, come quick, she whispered urgently to her twin sister, who was picking dandelions near their front steps. Heaven dropped her flowers and ran over, her brown eyes widening as she saw the unconscious stranger. Is he breathing? She asked, her voice trembling. Nan knelt down carefully and watched his chest. I think so, but he looks really sick. The man was clearly wealthy. His dark blue suit looked like it cost more than their rent, and his leather shoes were polished to a shine. But here he was, collapsed in their modest front yard in the early morning light. His breathing was shallow, and there was a small cut on his forehead that had dried blood around it. We need to get Mama, Heaven said, already turning toward their small house. Wait! Nivea grabbed her sister's arm. What if he's dangerous? He can't hurt anybody right now, Heaven pointed out with the simple logic only children possess. And Mama always says we should help people when they're hurt. Their mother, Kendra Johnson, was in the kitchen making breakfast when both girls burst through the front door, talking over each other in their excitement and fear. Mama, there's a man. Outside. He's unconscious. He's wearing a really fancy suit. I think he might be hurt. Kendra wiped her hands on her apron and followed her daughters outside, expecting to find maybe a neighbor who had too much to drink. What she found instead made her stop short. The man lying unconscious in their yard was clearly not from their neighborhood. Everything about him screamed wealth and success, from his perfectly tailored suit to the expensive watch on his wrist. Girls, go back inside, she said firmly. But Mama, inside now. Kendra approached the stranger carefully. She could see he was breathing, but his color was poor and he seemed completely unresponsive. She knelt down and gently shook his shoulder. Sir, can you hear me? No response. His skin felt clammy and cold despite the warm morning air. Kendra looked around their quiet street, wondering how this well-dressed man had ended up in her front yard. Their neighborhood wasn't exactly on the way to anywhere important. Mama, is he okay? Nah called from the doorway despite being told to go inside. Kendra sighed. Her daughters had inherited her stubborn streak along with her caring heart. I don't know, baby, but we need to help him. She pulled out her old phone and called 911. But when the dispatcher heard their address, the response was disappointing. Ma'am, we have several emergency calls ahead of yours. It could be 2 hours before an ambulance reaches you. 2 hours. This man could die in 2 hours. Kendra looked at the stranger again, then at her daughters' worried faces in the doorway. She had always taught them to help others, even when it was difficult, even when it scared them. How could she turn away from someone who clearly needed help? Girls, come help me get him inside, she said finally. Really? Heaven asked excitedly. Really? But we're going to be very careful. Okay, we don't know anything about this man. Together, the three of them managed. to get the unconscious stranger into their small living room. He was heavier than he looked, and by the time they got him settled on their old couch, all three of them were breathing hard. Kendra sent the twins to get a wet washcloth and a blanket while she tried to figure out what to do next. The man's wallet had fallen out of his pocket during the move, and she couldn't help but glance at it. The leather was expensive, and she could see several credit cards and a thick stack of cash. "Mama, I got the washcloth," Nivea said, handing it to her mother. Kendra gently cleaned the cut on the man's forehead and checked his pulse. It was steady but weak. His breathing seemed a little better now that he was lying down, but he still hadn't opened his eyes. "Why, do you think he was in our yard?" Heaven asked, carefully tucking the blanket around the stranger's legs. "I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe his car broke down, or maybe he got lost. He doesn't look like he belongs in our neighborhood," Nivea observed with the brutal honesty of childhood. She was right. Everything about this man spoke of money and privilege. His suit probably cost more than Kendra made in 3 months at her job cleaning office buildings. His watch looked like it belonged in a jewelry store window. Even unconscious, he had an air of importance about him. So what was he doing? Collapsed in their front yard. Kendra settled into the chair across from the couch, keeping a careful eye on their unexpected guest. The twins curled up on the floor nearby, whispering to each other and stealing glances at the sleeping stranger. "Mama," Heaven said, after a few minutes, "what if he doesn't have anywhere to go when he wakes up?" "Oh, honey, I'm sure a man like this has plenty of places to go. But what if he doesn't remember?" Vi added, "What if he hit his head and can't remember where he lives?" Kendra looked at her daughters with a mixture of pride and worry. At 8 years old, they were already more compassionate than many adults she knew, but they were also innocent in a way that sometimes scared her. They had no idea how dangerous it could be to help a stranger, especially one they knew nothing about. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," she said finally. "For now, we just wait for him to wake up." The morning stretched on. Kendra called in sick to her job, knowing she couldn't leave her daughters alone with an unconscious stranger, no matter how harmless he seemed. The twins took turns checking on him, bringing him water they hoped he might somehow drink, and whispering theories about who he might be. "Maybe he's a movie star," Heaven suggested, "or a prince from another country." And Vi added, "Maybe he's just a regular person who got dressed up for something important," Kendra said, though she didn't really believe it herself. Around noon, the man's breathing changed. It became deeper, more regular. His color started to improve slightly. Kendra moved closer to the couch, ready to call 911 again if he took a turn for the worse. "Mama, look," Heaven whispered. "His eyes are moving." Sure enough, beneath his closed eyelids, the stranger's eyes were moving back and forth rapidly. He was dreaming, or maybe starting to wake up. "Girls, go to your room for a few minutes," Kendra said quietly. "But Mama, just until we know he's okay. Please." Reluctantly, the twins headed toward their bedroom, but Kendra knew they would be listening from the hallway. She couldn't blame them. This was the most exciting thing that had happened in their quiet neighborhood in years. The man's eyelids fluttered. His breathing became more shallow again, but in a different way. Not the unconscious shallow breathing from before, but the lighter breathing of someone starting to wake up. Kendra sat on the edge of the coffee table, close enough to help if needed, but far enough away to run if necessary. She had no idea what kind of person the stranger would turn out to be. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused and confused. He stared at the ceiling for a long moment, then slowly turned his head to look around the room. When his gaze fell on Kendra, he tried to sit up quickly and immediately grabbed his head with a groan. "Easy," Kendra said, softly. "You're hurt. You need to take it slow." The man looked at her with confusion and something that might have been fear. Where am I?" "You're in my home. My daughters found you unconscious in our front yard this morning." He tried to sit up again more carefully this time and looked around the small, modest living room. Kendra could see him taking in the old furniture, the worn carpets, the family photos on the walls showing her and the twins at various ages. I don't remember, he said, pressing his palm against his forehead. What's your name? Kendra asked gently. The man was quiet for a long moment, his brow furrowed in concentration. When he finally looked at her again, there was panic in his eyes. I don't know, he whispered. I can't remember anything. The stranger's confession hung in the air between them like a heavy curtain. Kendra studied his face, looking for signs of deception, but all she saw was genuine confusion and fear. You can't remember your name at all? She asked softly. He shook his head slowly, then winced at the movement. It's all blank, like trying to look through fog. He touched the cut on his forehead gingerly. Did I fall? I don't know. My daughters found you in our yard around sunrise. You were unconscious. The man looked toward the hallway where Kendra could hear the twins whispering. Your daughters? 8-year-old twins? Nah, and heaven. Kendra hesitated, then added, they're the ones who insisted we help you. Something softened in the stranger's expression. They sound like special girls. They are. Kendra stood up. Are you hungry? You've been unconscious for hours. The man started to shake his head, then stopped. Actually, yes. I'm starving. He looked embarrassed. I'm sorry to be such a burden. I should call someone to come. Get me. But you don't remember anyone to call. Exactly. Kendra made a decision that surprised even herself. You can stay here until your memory comes back. We don't have much, but we have enough to share. The stranger's eyes filled with something that looked like tears. You don't even know me. I could be dangerous. Could you hurt my daughters? Kendra asked directly. He looked shocked. Never. I would never hurt children. Then you're not dangerous to us. From the hallway came the sound of not very quiet footsteps. And soon, both twins appeared in the doorway, trying to look casual. Girls, Kendra said with a slight smile. I told you to stay in your room. We just wanted to see if he was okay, Heaven said innocently. The stranger looked at the twins and smiled for the first time since waking up. You must be Nvi in Heaven. How did you know? Nvi asked, moving closer. Your mother told me. She also told me you two saved my life. Heaven beamed. We found you by the big oak tree. You were sleeping really, really hard. I wasn't sleeping, sweetheart. I was unconscious. There's a difference. What's unconscious mean? Not asked. It means my body was hurt and needed to shut down for a while to fix itself. Kendra watched the easy way he talked to her daughters. There was something natural and kind in his manner that put her more at ease. Do you remember your name yet? Heaven asked hopefully. The man's smile faded. No, I don't. I can't remember anything about myself. That's okay. Na said matter-of-factly. We can call you something else until you remember. Like what? The twins looked at each other, having one of their silent twin conversations. Finally, Heaven spoke up. How about Mr. Kind? Because you seem really kind. The stranger laughed and the sound filled their small living room with warmth. Mr. Kind it is. Kendra went to the kitchen to make lunch, and the twins settled on the floor near the couch, chattering away to their new friend. She could hear him asking them about school, their favorite games, their dreams of the future. His voice was gentle and patient, the voice of someone who genuinely enjoyed talking to children. Mr. Kind, Heaven was saying, do you have kids? There was a pause. I don't know. I don't think so, but I can't remember. If you did have kids, would you want them to be like us? Nah. Asked. I would be honored to have daughters like you, too. Kendra smiled as she made sandwiches with the little food they had left. Peanut butter and jelly again, but it was better than nothing. She made herself a promise to go grocery shopping as soon as she got paid next week. When she returned to the living room with lunch, she found the stranger sitting up straighter, looking more alert. The twins were showing him their collection of library books, explaining the plots of their favorite stories. "Here you go," Kendra said, handing him a sandwich and glass of water. He looked at the simple meal as if it were a feast. "Thank you. This is very kind. It's just peanut butter and jelly. It's perfect." They ate together, in comfortable silence for a while. Kendra noticed that the stranger ate slowly as if savoring every bite. She also noticed that he kept looking around their modest home with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Of course. Why are you helping me? You don't know anything about me. I could be anyone." Kendra considered the question. "My grandmother used to say that we're all angels walking around in disguise. Sometimes we're the angel who needs help, and sometimes we're the angel who gives it. Today you needed help, and you're my angel. We all are." Heaven piped up. "Mama says angels come in all shapes and sizes." The stranger, Mr. Kind, looked at each of them in turn. "I think you're right." After lunch, Kendra insisted that he rest more. His color was better, but she could see he was still weak. The twins reluctantly agreed to let him sleep, settling into their room for a quiet time. Kendra used the time to really look at their guest. His clothes were expensive. She could tell that much. His shoes alone probably cost more than she made in a month. His watch caught the afternoon light and sparkled with what looked like real diamonds. This was a man of means, no doubt about it. So, what was he doing in their neighborhood? Their street wasn't on the way to anywhere important. It wasn't even on the way to anywhere unimportant. You had to deliberately turn down their road to end up here. She looked through his wallet again, hoping to find some clue to his identity. The credit cards were all black, the kind she'd heard wealthy people carried. There was a business card for a law firm, but no name on it, several hundred in cash. A photo of what looked like an office building, but no driver's license, no ID of any kind. Strange. Around 4 o'clock, Mr. Kind woke up again. This time he seemed much more alert, though he still couldn't remember anything about his past. "How are you feeling?" Kendra asked. "Better, much better. Your kindness is healing me faster than any medicine could." The twins appeared as if by magic, somehow sensing that their patient was awake. "Mr. Kind?" "Heaven!" exclaimed. "Are you feeling better?" "I am. Thanks to you three taking such good care of me. Mama made you soup for dinner," Nivea announced. "It's chicken noodle from a can, but she added extra love." Mr. Kind smiled. "Extra love makes everything taste better." Over dinner, he asked them about their lives. Kendra found herself opening up about her struggles as a single mother, working multiple jobs to make ends meet. She told him about the twins' father who had left when they were babies. She talked about her dreams of giving her daughters a better life, of maybe going back to school herself someday. "You're an amazing mother," Mr. K said quietly. "Those girls are lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Kendra replied. "They're my everything. It shows. They're confident, kind, intelligent. You've done something remarkable here." That night, Kendra made up the couch with their best sheets and gave Mr. Kind one of her father's old pajamas. They were too big, but he accepted them with gratitude. "I can't thank you enough," he said as she tucked an extra blanket around him. "I don't know what would have happened to me if your daughters hadn't found me." "Don't think about that," Kendra said. "You're safe now." "I know I am. I can feel it." As Kra tucked her daughters into bed, they were full of questions about their house guest. "Mama, do you think Mr. Kind has a family somewhere?" Evan asked. "I don't know, baby. Maybe. If he does, they must be really worried about him." Na observed. "They must be. That's why we're going to take extra good care of him until his memory comes back." "And if it doesn't come back?" Evan asked. Kendra kissed both girls goodnight. "Then we'll figure it out together." Late that night, Kendra lay in her bed, listening to the sounds of her house. the twins' gentle breathing. From their room, the old house settling, and from the living room, the quiet breathing of the stranger who had somehow become part of their little family in just one day. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. She had to work, but she couldn't leave him alone with the girls. She had bills due and not enough money to pay them. She had a dozen worries and concerns. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe they were exactly where they were supposed to be. Morning came too soon, bringing with it the reality of Kendra's situation. She had to work. Missing another day would mean losing her job, and she couldn't afford that. But she also couldn't leave Mr. Kind alone with the twins, no matter how kind he seemed. She was in the kitchen making coffee with trembling hands when she heard footsteps behind her. "You're worried about leaving me with your daughters," Mr. Kind said quietly. Kendra turned around. He looked much better this morning. His color was normal, and he was moving without the careful slowness of yesterday, but his eyes held the same lost confusion about his identity. "I have to work," she said, simply. "I can't afford to miss another day." "Of course you can't, and you shouldn't have to." He sat down at her small kitchen table. "What if I came with you? I could help." Kendra almost laughed. "You want to help me clean office buildings? Why not? I may not remember who I am, but I know how to work, and it would keep us all together." "What about the girls? It's Saturday. Don't most office cleanings happen on weekends when the buildings are empty?" He was right. Kendra studied his face, looking for any sign that this was some kind of game to him, but all she saw was sincere desire to help. "You don't understand," she said finally. "It's hard work, physical work. Your clothes will get dirty." Mr. Kind looked down at his expensive suit. "These are just clothes. They can be cleaned." "Those clothes cost more than I make in 6 months. Then they're just expensive clothes. They're still just clothes." An hour later, Kendra found herself loading her cleaning supplies into her old car while Mr. Kind helped the twins into the back seat. He had insisted on keeping his dress shirt and pants, but had rolled up his sleeves and removed his tie. He looked like a businessman playing dress-up as a janitor. "This is exciting," Heaven announced as they drove toward downtown. "We've never been to Mama's work before. It's not very exciting." Kendra warned. "It's just cleaning, but we get to help and be added. And Mr. K gets to see what you do." The office building was a modest 3-story structure that housed several small businesses. Kendra had been cleaning it for 2 years, and she knew every corner, every stain, every difficult spot. "Okay," she said as they entered the quiet building. "Girls, you know the rules. Stay together. Don't touch anything you shouldn't. And listen to what I say." "What about me?" Mr. Kind asked with a smile. "Same rules apply." Kendra started on the first floor, showing Mr. Kind how to empty trash cans and wipe down surfaces. She expected him to struggle, to complain, or to give up after a few minutes. Instead, he threw himself into the work with determination. That surprised her. "Like this?" he asked, carefully cleaning a window. "Perfect. You're a natural." The twins, angels walking around in disguise. Sometimes we're the angel who needs help, and sometimes we're the angel who gives it. Today you needed help, and you're my angel. We all are. Heaven piped up. "Mama says angels come in all shapes and sizes." The stranger, Mr. Kind, looked at each of them in turn. "I think you're right." After lunch, Kendra insisted that he rest more. His color was better, but she could see he was still weak. The twins reluctantly agreed to let him sleep, settling into their room for quiet time. Kendra used the time to really look at their guest. His clothes were expensive. She could tell that much. His shoes alone probably cost more than she made in a month. His watch caught the afternoon light and sparkled with what looked like real diamonds. This was a man of means, no doubt about it. So, what was he doing in their neighborhood? Their street wasn't on the way to anywhere important. It wasn't even on the way to anywhere unimportant. You had to deliberately turn down there. Road end up here. She looked through his wallet again. hoping to find some clue to his identity. The credit cards were all black, the kind she'd heard wealthy people carried. There was a business card for a law firm, but no name on it, several hundred in cash. A photo of what looked like an office building, but no driver's license, no ID of any kind. Strange. Around 4 o'clock, Mr. Kind woke up again. This time he seemed much more alert, though he still couldn't remember anything about his past. "How are you feeling?" Kendra asked. "Better, much better. Your kindness is healing me faster than any medicine could." The twins appeared as if by magic, somehow sensing that their patient was awake. "Mr. Kind?" "Heaven!" exclaimed. "Are you feeling better?" "I am. Thanks to you three taking such good care of me. Mama made you soup for dinner," Nivea announced. "It's chicken noodle from a can, but she added extra love." Mr. Kind smiled. "Extra love makes everything taste better." Over dinner, he asked them about their lives. Kendra found herself opening up about her struggles as a single mother, working multiple jobs to make ends meet. She told him about the twins' father who had left when they were babies. She talked about her dreams of giving her daughters a better life, of maybe going back to school herself someday. "You're an amazing mother," Mr. K said quietly. "Those girls are lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Kendra replied. "They're my everything. It shows. They're confident, kind, intelligent. You've done something remarkable here." That night, Kendra made up the couch with their best sheets and gave Mr. Kind one of her father's old pajamas. They were too big, but he accepted them with gratitude. "I can't thank you enough," he said as she tucked an extra blanket around him. "I don't know what would have happened to me if your daughters hadn't found me." "Don't think about that," Kendra said. "You're safe now." "I know I am. I can feel it." As Kra tucked her daughters into bed, they were full of questions about their house guest. "Mama, do you think Mr. Kind has a family somewhere?" Evan asked. "I don't know, baby. Maybe. If he does, they must be really worried about him." Na observed. "They must be. That's why we're going to take extra good care of him until his memory comes back." "And if it doesn't come back?" Evan asked. Kendra kissed both girls goodnight. "Then we'll figure it out together." Late that night, Kendra lay in her bed, listening to the sounds of her house. The twins' gentle breathing. From their room, the old house settling. And from the living room, the quiet breathing of the stranger who had somehow become part of their little family in just one day. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. She had to work, but she couldn't leave him alone with the girls. She had bills due and not enough money to pay them. She had a dozen worries and concerns. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe they were exactly where they were supposed to be. Morning came too soon, bringing with it the reality of Kendra's situation. She had to work. Missing another day would mean losing her job, and she couldn't afford that. But she also couldn't leave Mr. Kind alone with the twins, no matter how kind he seemed. She was in the kitchen making coffee with trembling hands when she heard footsteps behind her. "You're worried about leaving me with your daughters," Mr. Kind said quietly. Kendra turned around. He looked much better this morning. His color was normal, and he was moving without the careful slowness of yesterday, but his eyes held the same lost confusion about his identity. "I have to work," she said, simply. "I can't afford to miss another day." "Of course you can't, and you shouldn't have to." He sat down at her small kitchen table. "What if I came with you? I could help." Kendra almost laughed. "You want to help me clean office buildings? Why not? I may not remember who I am, but I know how to work, and it would keep us all together." "What about the girls?" "It's Saturday. Don't most office cleanings happen on weekends when the buildings are empty?" He was right. Kendra studied his face, looking for any sign that this was some kind of game to him, but all she saw was sincere desire to help. "You don't understand," she said finally. "It's hard work, physical work. Your clothes will get dirty. Mr. Kine looked down at his expensive suit. These are just clothes. They can be cleaned. Those clothes cost more than I make in 6 months. Then they're just expensive clothes. They're still just clothes. An hour later, Kinder found herself loading her cleaning supplies into her old car while Mr. Kine helped the twins into the back seat. He had insisted on keeping his dress shirt and pants, but had rolled up his sleeves and removed his tie. He looked like a businessman playing dress-up as a janitor. This is exciting, Heaven announced as they drove toward downtown. We've never been to Mama's work before. It's not very exciting. Kendra warned. It's just cleaning, but we get to help and be added, and Mr. K gets to see what you do. The office building was a modest 3-story structure that housed several small businesses. Kendra had been cleaning it for 2 years, and she knew every corner, every stain, every difficult spot. Okay, she said as they entered the quiet building. Girls, you know the rules. Stay together. Don't touch anything you shouldn't, and listen to what I say. What about me? Mr. Kine asked with a smile. Same rules apply. Kendra started on the first floor, showing Mr. Kine how to empty trash cans and wipe down surfaces. She expected him to struggle, to complain, or to give up after a few minutes. Instead, he threw himself into the work with determination that surprised her. Like this? He asked, carefully cleaning a window. Perfect. You're a natural. The twins, helped by carrying supplies and pointing out spots their mother might have missed, they turned the work into a game, competing to see who could make their assigned area the cleanest. As they worked, Kinder found herself watching Mr. Kine carefully. There was something about the way he moved, the way he approached each task that spoke of someone used to getting things done. Even without his memory, there was an efficiency and focus to his work that suggested this was his first time tackling difficult tasks. You're good at this, she told him as they finished the first floor. It feels familiar somehow. Not cleaning exactly, but working hard toward a goal. On the second floor, they encountered their first real challenge. Someone had spilled coffee all over one of the conference rooms, and it had dried into a sticky mess that covered the table, chairs, and part of the floor. This is going to take forever. Kendra sighed. Not if we work together, Mr. K said. Girls, can you give me some clean rags? Your mother and I are going to need all the help we can get. For the next hour, all 4 of them worked to clean the conference room. Mr. Kine proved to have a knack for getting stains out, and his cheerful attitude kept the twins motivated even when the work got tedious. There, he announced, finally, standing back to survey their work. Good as new. Better than new. Heaven corrected. It's sparkly clean. They took a break on the 3rd floor, sharing snacks that Kendra had packed. The twins curled up near a window, and Mr. Kine sat beside Kendra on an old couch in the waiting area. Thank you, Kendra said quietly. For what? For helping. For being so good with the girls. For not making me feel embarrassed about my job. Mr. Kine looked genuinely confused. Why would you be embarrassed? You're working hard to take care of your family. There's nothing more honorable than that. Some people look down on cleaning work. Then they're fools. This work matters. Look around you. Make these spaces clean and welcoming for everyone who uses them. You take pride in what you do, and it shows. Kendra felt tears prick her eyes. It had been so long since anyone had spoken about her work with respect. Besides, Mr. Kine continued, watching you work today, seeing how much you care about doing things right, it tells me everything I need to know about the kind of person you are. What kind of person is that? The kind who raises daughters, like Nvi in heaven. The kind who helps a stranger without question. The kind who works 3 jobs and still finds energy to read bedtime stories. How did you know I read them bedtime stories? Mr. Kine smiled. Lucky guess. But I'm right, aren't I? Every night, they finished the building as the sun was setting. The twins had been troopers, helping without complaint for hours. Mr. Kine had worked as hard as Kendra herself, never once acting like the work was beneath him. As they loaded the cleaning supplies back into the car, Kendra's phone rang. It was Mrs. Patterson, the woman who managed the building. "Kendra, I just stopped by to check on something, and I have to say the building has never looked better. Whatever you did today, keep doing it." Kendra looked at Mr. Kind, who was helping the twins into the car. "I had some help today." "Well, that help is welcome anytime. Great work." On the drive home, the twins chattered excitedly about their day, but Kendra noticed that Mr. Kind was quiet. "Everything okay?" she asked when they stopped at a red light. "More than okay," he said. "Today was special. I may not remember my past, but I'll never forget today." That evening, as Kendra made dinner with their limited groceries, she found Mr. Kind standing at her kitchen window, looking out at their small backyard. "Penny, for your thoughts," she said. "I was just thinking about how different my life must be from this." "What do you mean?" He gestured toward the window. "Look at what you've built here. This home, those amazing daughters, the way you care for people. It's beautiful in a way that has nothing to do with money or status." "We don't have much money," Kendra said honestly, "but you have everything that matters." After dinner, as the twins played quietly in their room, Mr. Kind approached Kendra with a serious expression. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest." "Okay, how much do you make cleaning that building?" Kendra hesitated. "Why?" "Because I want to understand. I want to know what your life is really like." She told him about her 3 jobs, her monthly income, her struggles to pay rent and keep food on the table. She told him about the bills that were overdue, the car that needed repairs, the dream she'd had to put on. Hold. Mr. Kind listened without judgment, asking questions that showed he was really trying to understand her situation. "What would make the biggest difference in your life right now?" he asked finally. "Honestly, just not having to worry about next month's rent. Just knowing that we have enough food, that the girls could take dance classes like other kids, that I could fix the car before it completely breaks down." "What if I told you that might be possible?" Kendra looked at him suspiciously. "What do you mean?" I mean, I may not remember who I am, but I know I want to help you. All of you, you saved my life, and now you're giving me a place to heal. Let me find a way to return the favor. Mr. Kind, you don't owe us anything. Maybe not, but I want to help anyway." That night, as Kendra lay in bed, she thought about the strange turn her life had taken. 3 days ago, she was struggling alone, worried about making ends meet, wondering how she was going to give her daughters the life they deserved. Now, there was a mysterious, kind stranger sleeping on her couch, a man who had worked beside her without complaint and looked at her daughters like they were the most precious things in the world. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in years, she felt like maybe, just maybe, things were about to change for the better. Sunday morning brought the kind of peaceful quiet that only happens in a house where everyone feels safe and loved. Kendra woke to the smell of coffee brewing and the sound of gentle laughter from the kitchen. When she padded out in her robe, she found Mr. Kind making pancakes while the twins sat at the table giggling at something he had said. "Good morning," he said, with a warm smile. "I hope you don't mind. I found some pancake mix in your pantry. You know how to cook?" "Apparently." "So, my hands seem to know what to do, even if my mind doesn't remember learning." The pancakes were perfect, fluffy, and golden brown. As they ate breakfast together, Kendra noticed that Mr. Kind seemed different. This morning, more confident, more at peace with his situation. "What's the plan for today?" he asked. "Nothing special. Laundry. Maybe take the girls to the park if the weather holds." "Sounds perfect." After breakfast, Mr. Kind insisted on doing the dishes while Kendra got the twins ready for the day. She was folding laundry when she heard a knock at the front door. Through the window, she saw a delivery truck parked outside. The driver was carrying several large bags toward their door. "Are you expecting anything?" Mr. Kind asked, drying his hands on a dish towel. "No, Nothing. Kendra opened the door to find a cheerful delivery man holding what looked like a week's worth of groceries. "Delivery for Johnson?" he said. "I think there's been a mistake. I didn't order anything." The man checked his clipboard. "Says here it's a gift delivery already paid for." "From who?" "Anonymous donor. Happens more than you'd think. Someone wanted to make sure you folks had everything you needed." Before Kendra could protest further, the man was carrying bag after bag of groceries into her kitchen. Fresh fruits and vegetables, meat, milk, bread, and pantry staples. More food than they usually had in a month. "This has to be a mistake," Kendra said when the delivery was complete. "No mistake, ma'am. Someone thinks a lot of you folks. Have a great day." As the truck drove away, Kendra stood in her kitchen staring at the abundance of food. The twins were already exploring the bags, exclaiming over fresh strawberries and their favorite cereal. "Mr. Kind," she said, slowly, "do you know anything about this?" He looked genuinely surprised. "I wish I could say yes, but I have no idea how I would have arranged this. I don't remember anyone, and I don't have access to my money, assuming I have any. But this is too much of a coincidence." "Maybe," he said softly. "Sometimes good things just happen to good people." Later that morning, they walked to the small neighborhood park. The twins ran ahead to the playground while Kendra and Mr. Kind settled on a bench nearby. "Can I tell you something?" Mr. Kind said as they watched the girls play. "Of course. I've been having dreams. Not memories exactly, but impressions. I dream about big rooms with lots of people, about making decisions that affect many lives. I think I might be someone important in my regular life. What kind of important? I'm not sure, but the feelings and the dreams are heavy, like I carry a lot of responsibility." Kendra studied his profile. "Do the dreams make you want to remember sometimes? But then I look at this." He gestured toward the twins who were taking turns pushing each other on the swings. "And I think maybe forgetting isn't the worst thing that could happen to someone." "What do you mean?" "I mean, when was the last time I spent a whole morning making pancakes? When did I last work with my hands and feel proud of simple, honest work? When did I last sit in a park and just watch children play without thinking about a dozen other things I should be doing?" Maybe your regular life isn't as fulfilling as you think it should be. Maybe not. Or maybe I just need to step outside it for a while to see what really matters. They were interrupted by Heaven running over, with a scraped knee from falling off the monkey bars. Mr. Kind immediately knelt down to examine the injury. "It's not too bad, sweetheart. Just needs cleaning and a bandage." "How do you know?" Heaven asked, tears still fresh on her cheeks. "I don't know how I know, but I'm sure." Kendra pulled a small first aid kit from her purse necessity when raising active twins and watched as Mr. Kind gently cleaned Heaven's scrape and applied a bandage with the skill of someone who had done it many times before. "Do you have children?" Heaven asked him directly. Mr. Kind paused in his work. "I don't think so, but taking care of you and your sister feels very natural to me." "Good," Heaven said matter-of-factly, "because we like having you around." That afternoon, more surprises arrived. First, it was a repair truck that pulled up to fix Kendra's car without her calling for service. Then it was a phone call saying that her overdue electric bill had been mysteriously paid in full. "This is getting ridiculous," Kendra said after hanging up the phone. "Someone is doing all this, and I have a feeling I know who." Mr. Kind looked up from where he was helping V with a puzzle. "You think it's me? Who else could it be?" "Kendra, I swear to you, I don't remember arranging any of this. I don't even know if I have the means to do it, but somehow all these good things are happening right after you show up in our lives." Mr. Kind was quiet for a moment. "Maybe I'm like a good luck charm," he said, finally making the twins giggle. "This isn't luck, Mr. Kind. This is someone with money and influence making things happen. Even if that's true, even if somehow I'm responsible for these things happening, would that be so bad?" Kendra sat down heavily in her chair I can't accept charity. It's not charity, Heaven piped up. It's kindness, like when we help Mr. Kind. That's different, sweetheart. How? Nivea asked. We helped him because he needed help. Maybe he's helping us because we need help. It's not that simple. Mr. Kind left his puzzle and knelt beside Kendra's chair. What if we made a deal? What kind of deal? I'll stay here with you and the girls until my memory comes back. I'll work with you, help with the twins, contribute to this household in every way I can. And in return, you let me help in other ways, too, like mysteriously paying bills and delivering groceries, like making sure the people who saved my life don't have to worry about basic necessities. Kendra looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of deception or manipulation. All she found was sincerity and a deep desire to help. Why is this so important to you? She asked. Because for the first time since I woke up, I feel like I have a purpose. Taking care of you three, making sure you're safe and happy. It feels right in a way nothing else has. That evening, as they sat down at dinner made with the mysteriously delivered groceries, the twins peppered Mr. Kind with questions about his possible past life. If you're really rich, Nivea said, do you live in a mansion? I don't know. Maybe. Do you have servants? Evan asked. I'm not sure, but if I do, I bet they're not as good company as you two. Do you miss your old life? Now wondered, Mr. Kind. Consider the question seriously. How can I miss something I don't remember? But I can tell you this. Whatever my old life was like, it couldn't have been better than this. Really. I've spent the last few days with the most amazing family I can imagine. We've worked together, laughed together, taking care of each other. If that's not a perfect life, I don't know what is. After dinner, while the twins played in their room, Kendra confronted Mr. Kind directly. I need you to be honest with me, she said. Are you getting your memory back? It was quiet for a long moment. Pieces, he admitted finally. Little flashes, nothing complete. But, yes, some things are starting to come back. And I'm afraid that when I remember everything, this will all end. What do you mean? I mean, what if my real life doesn't have room for pancakes? On Sunday morning? What if there's no place in it for helping beautiful little girls with scraped knees? What if remembering who I am means losing who I become here with you? Kendra felt her heart skip a beat. And who have you become? Someone who matters to people who matter to me. Someone who can make a difference in the lives of the people he cares about. Mr. Kind, I know the situation can't last forever. I know eventually I'll have to face whatever life I left behind. But right now, in this moment, I want to be here. I want to take care of you and the girls. I want to make sure you never have to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. What if you're real? Family is looking for you? Then they'll find me. But until they do, this is my family. That night, Kendra lay awake, thinking about everything that had happened. The mysterious groceries, the paid bills, the car repair. Someone was definitely helping them. And that someone had to be Mr. Kind, whether he fully remembered arranging it or not. But more than that, she was beginning to care about him in ways that scared her. He was kind to her daughters, respectful to her, and treated her like she was the most important person in the world. When was the last time anyone had looked at her the way he did? She was falling for a man she knew nothing about, a man who might disappear from their lives as suddenly as he had appeared. But watching him with her daughters, seeing the gentle way he cared for them, the pride he took in simple work, the joy he found in their modest life, she couldn't help herself. For the first time in years, Kendra Johnson was allowing herself to hope for more than just survival. She was beginning to dream of a life filled with love, security, and the kind of happiness she had thought was only for other people. The question was, what would happen when Mr. Kind remembered who he really was? Monday morning brought with a phone call. That changed everything. Kendra was getting ready for work when her cell phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. Miss Johnson, This is Patricia Wells from Wells Morrison and Associates. I represent a client who believes you may be caring for someone he's been looking for." Kindred's blood ran cold. "I'm sorry. Who is this?" "I'm an attorney, Miss Johnson. My client's name is Jonathan Richards. He's been missing for 4 days, and we have reason to believe he may be with you." Kendra looked toward the living room where Mr. Kine was helping the twins get ready for school. "I don't know anyone by that name. Miss Johnson, Mr. Richards was last seen in your neighborhood. He was experiencing some health issues and maybe suffering from memory problems. We're not trying to cause trouble. We just want to make sure he's safe. And if I did know where this person was, then I would ask you to please call me immediately. Mr. Richards is a very important man, and there are many people worried about him." After hanging up, Kendra stood in her kitchen with shaking hands. Mr. Kine Jonathan Richards was apparently someone important enough to have attorneys looking for him. Important enough that his disappearance was being taken very seriously. She walked into the living room where he was braiding Heaven's hair with surprising skill. "Mr. Kine," she said carefully, "we need to talk." Something in her tone made him look up sharply. "What's wrong?" Not in front of the girls. They went into the kitchen while the twins finished getting ready for school. "Someone called," Cross said without preamble. "An attorney. She's looking for someone named Jonathan Richards." Mr. Kine Jonathan went very still. "Jonathan Richards," he repeated slowly. "Does that name mean anything to you?" Yes. Yes, I think that's my name." He sat down heavily in one of her kitchen chairs. "Jonathan Richards," she said, "you're a very important man that lots of people are worried about you." Jonathan put his head in his hands. "It's starting to come back. Not everything, but pieces. My name is Jonathan Richards. I'm the CEO of Richards Industries." "What's Richards Industries?" "We own hotels, restaurants, commercial real estate. We employ about 15,000 people." He looked up at her with anguish in his eyes. "Kendra, I think I'm very wealthy." "How wealthy?" "Billionaire wealthy." The word hung between them like a physical presence. Billionaire. Kendra had been caring for a billionaire for the past 4 days, and he had been washing dishes and cleaning office buildings without complaint. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "Because I didn't remember. And even now, remembering who I am in the business world, it doesn't feel real. This feels real." He gestured around her modest kitchen. "You and the girls, this life we've been living, this feels more real than anything in my returning memories. But you have responsibilities. People depending on you. I know." His voice was heavy with reluctance. "I have to call Patricia. I have to let them know I'm alive and safe." "Mr. Kine Jonathan, what does this mean for us?" Before he could answer, the twins burst into the kitchen ready for school. "Mama, we're going to be late," Na announced, and Mr. Kine promised to walk us to the bus stop. Heaven added. Jonathan looked at Kendra, a silent question in his eyes. She nodded slightly. "Of course I did," he said, forcing a smile. "Let's go." As they walked the 3 blocks to the bus stop, Jonathan was unusually quiet. The twins chatted away, oblivious to the tension between the adults. When the school bus arrived, both girls hugged him tightly. "See you after school, Mr. Kind," Heaven called as she climbed aboard. "We're going to finish our puzzle," Na added. Jonathan waved until the bus disappeared around the corner, then turned to Kendra with tears in his eyes. "I can't lose them," he said, quietly. "I can't lose any of you, Jonathan. You have a life, a billion-dollar company. You can't just walk away from that." "Why not?" "Because that's not how the real world works." They walked back to the house in silence. Once inside, Jonathan sat on the couch where he had been sleeping and stared at his hands. "I need to make some phone calls," he said finally. "Do you want privacy?" "No. I want you to hear this. You deserve to know who I really am." The first call was to Patricia Wells. Kendra listened. As Jonathan explained that he was safe, that he'd been cared for by a kind family, and that his memory was gradually returning. No, Patricia, I don't need immediate extraction. I'm exactly where I need to be. Yes, I understand the stock price is fluctuating. Handle it. I'll be in touch soon. The second call was to someone named Richard, apparently his assistant. Richard, it's Jonathan. I'm alive. I'm safe, and I'm taking a few more days. I don't care what the board thinks. Tell them I'm conducting a personal review of company priorities. No, I won't be reachable by email. Handle the Wilson merger yourself. You know what I want. The third call was to Dr. Stevens, who was apparently his physician. Doctor, I want you to explain to me exactly what happened. Why was I found unconscious with no memory? A severe stress reaction. What kind of stress? I see. And this memory loss is normal. How long before I'm completely back to normal? When he hung up, Jonathan looked at Kendra with a mixture of relief and sadness. Severe stress reaction, he explained. Apparently, I've been pushing myself too hard for too long. My body and mind just shut down. The doctor says it's not uncommon in high-stress professions, and your memory will come back completely within a few days. I'm already remembering more each hour, so you'll be leaving soon. Jonathan stood up and began pacing her small living room. Kendra, I need to tell you what I'm remembering about my life. Okay. I live in a penthouse that cost $12 million. I own houses I've never even visited. I have a staff of 20 people, whose job it is to manage my daily life. I work 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I haven't taken a real vacation in 8 years. That sounds lonely. It sounds incredibly lonely because it is. He stopped pacing and looked at her directly. I haven't cooked a meal in years. I haven't done my own laundry since college. I haven't sat on a park bench and just watched children play since. I can't remember when. But you must have friends, family, business, associates, board members, people who want things from me. His voice was bitter. I can't remember the last time someone was kind to me without wanting something in return. What about relationships? Romance? Jonathan laughed, but there was no humor in it. I was engaged once to a woman who was more interested in the lifestyle my money could provide than in me as a person. When I caught her cheating with my business partner, she told me it was my fault for working too much. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me that my money makes it impossible to know who really cares about me and who just wants access to my wealth. Until now, he sat back down closer to her this time. Kendra, these past 4 days have been the happiest of my adult life. Not because I didn't remember my responsibilities, but because I got to be just Jonathan, not the CEO, not the billionaire, just a man who could make pancakes and clean windows and read bedtime stories. You read bedtime stories? Last night after you fell asleep, the girls asked me to, and I couldn't say no. Kendra felt her heart melt a little more. What did you read? Something about a princess who saved herself. They said it was their favorite. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, both lost in their own thoughts. Jonathan, Kendra, said finally, "What happens now?" "I don't know. I know I can't stay here forever pretending to have amnesia, but I also know I can't go back to my old life and pretend these days never happened." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe the stress-induced memory loss was the best thing that ever happened to me. Maybe I needed to lose myself to find out who I really wanted to be." "And who do you want to be?" Jonathan reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. "I want to be the man who deserves the love of someone like you. I want to be the kind of father Nivea in heaven would be proud to have. I want to use my resources to make a real difference in the world, starting with making sure the 3 most important people in my life never have to worry about anything again." "Jonathan, I know this is complicated. I know we barely know each other, but I also know that I love you. I love your daughters. I love the life we've built together in just 4 days. and I want to find a way to make it real and permanent. Before Kendra could respond, her phone rang. It was a twin school. Miss Johnson, this is Principal Martinez. I'm calling because someone has just made an extraordinary donation to our school in honor of 9 Heaven Johnson. Kendra looked at Jonathan, who was trying to look innocent and failing completely. How much of a donation? She asked. Enough to fund our arts and athletics programs for the next 10 years. The donor insisted it be done in your daughter's names. They must think very highly of your family. After hanging up, Kendra turned to Jonathan with her hands on her hips. Arts and athletics funding for 10 years. The girls mentioned that their school doesn't have music classes anymore. That seemed wrong. Jonathan Richards, what am I going to do with you? Love me? He suggested hopefully. Let me love you back. Allow me to spend the rest of my life making sure you and the girls have everything you could ever want or need. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. The proposal comes later when I've earned the right to ask. Kendra looked at this extraordinary man who had fallen into their lives like a gift from heaven. For days ago, she was struggling to make ends meet, worried about her daughter's future, convinced that love was something that happened to other people. Now, she was sitting in her kitchen, holding hands with a billionaire who wanted to dedicate his life to making her dreams come true. The girls are going to be so excited. She said finally about what? About the fact that Mr. Kind is staying. Jonathan's smile was brighter than the sun streaming through her kitchen window. Forever. Well, start with forever and see how it goes. The rest of Jonathan's memory returned gradually over the next 2 days, bringing with it the full weight of his responsibilities and the magnitude of what he was proposing to walk away from. But rather than pulling him back to his old life, each recovered memory seemed to strengthen his resolve to build something new. I remember my last board meeting, he told Kendra as they made breakfast together Wednesday morning. 12. People sitting around a conference table arguing about profit margins while I sat there wondering when I had stopped caring about any of it. And now I know exactly what I care about. He looked toward the twins' room where they were getting dressed for school. I care about making sure Heaven gets those dance lessons she's been dreaming about. I care about not being able to take art classes. I care about you never having to work 3 jobs again just to survive. Jonathan, we need to talk about this. About what? About the fact that you can't just remake your entire life around us. We barely know each other. Jonathan stopped stirring the pancake batter and looked at her. Seriously, what would you like to know? Everything. Your real life, your family, your plans. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, I need to understand what I'm getting into. That afternoon, after the twins left for school, Jonathan sat Kendra down at her kitchen table and told her everything about growing up as the only child of parents who built Richards Industries from nothing, about inheriting the company at 25 when they died in a car accident, about 15 years of growing the business while losing himself in the process. I have no siblings, no close family left, he explained. The company has been my whole life for so long that I forgot there was supposed to be more to living than just working. What about friends? Business relationships? People who know Jonathan. Richards, the CEO, not Jonathan person. He reached across the table for her hand. You and the girls are the first people in years who have known me without knowing what I'm worth. You cared about me when you thought I was nobody special. You were never nobody special, but you didn't know I was somebody important either. You helped me because I needed help, not because you wanted something from me. Kendra squeezed his hand. So what's the plan? You can't just abandon a billion-dollar company. I'm not abandoning it. I'm restructuring my life. Jonathan's eyes lit up with excitement. I've been thinking about this nonstop. I want to promote Richard to president. He's been doing half my job anyway. I want to move the company toward more humanitarian projects. And I want to base myself here, in this city, in this neighborhood here. I want to buy the house next door and renovate it. I want 9 Heaven to stay in their school with their friends. I want you to decide what kind of work makes you happy instead of just what pays the bills. Jonathan, that's too much. Is it? Or is it exactly what someone does when they find their family? That evening, Jonathan asked if he could take them all out for dinner. Somewhere special, he said. I want to celebrate. Celebrate what? The fact that I remember who I am, and I'm choosing to be someone better. They went to the nicest restaurant in town, a place Kendra had never even thought about entering. The twins were awed by the fancy atmosphere, but Jonathan put them at ease immediately, asking about their day and listening to their stories with complete attention. Mr. Kine, Heaven, said over dessert, do you think you'll stay with us forever now that you remember everything? I hope so. Sweetheart, would you like that? Yes, both twins said simultaneously. But what? About your real house? Na asked, don't you miss your real life? Jonathan, consider the question seriously. You know what? I think maybe this is my real life. Maybe everything before was just practice for finding you three. After dinner, as they walked through the downtown area, Jonathan stopped in front of a small dance studio. Heaven, he said, didn't you mention wanting to take dance classes? Yes, but they're too expensive. What if they weren't too expensive? What if I could arrange for you to start classes here? Heavens, eyes grew wide. Really? Really? And nah, what about you? What would make you happiest? Art classes. V said immediately, I want to learn to paint, like the artists in our library books. Then art classes it is. That night after the twins were asleep, Kendra confronted Jonathan about his generosity. You can't just buy them everything they want. She said they need to understand the value of working for things. You're absolutely right, Jonathan agreed. But they also need to understand that when someone loves you, they want to make your dreams come true. Is that what this is? Love. Jonathan pulled her close on the couch. Kendra, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy, but yes, I love you. I love your strength, your kindness, the way you've raised those incredible girls. I love that you helped a stranger without question. I love that you see me as just Jonathan, not as what I own or what I'm worth. I love you, too, she whispered, but I'm scared of what? Of losing myself in your world, of the girls being spoiled by too much money, of people thinking I'm just after your wealth. None of that will happen. How can you be sure? Because we won't let it. We'll make our own rules for how to live this life together. The next morning brought another surprise. Patricia Wells, Jonathan's attorney, arrived at the house with a stack of legal documents. Mr. Richards, she said, eyeing the modest surroundings with barely concealed surprise. These papers require your signature. The board is getting restless about your absence. Let them be restless, Jonathan said calmly. Patricia, I'd like you to meet Kendra Johnson and her daughters, Nivea and Heaven. They're the reason I'm alive. Patricia looked at Kendra with the calculating gaze of someone trying to figure out an angle. I see, Miss Johnson. I hope you understand that Mr. Richards has been under a great deal of stress lately. Sometimes people make impulsive decisions when they're recovering from trauma. Excuse me, Kendra said, her voice dangerously quiet. I just mean that when someone of Mr. Richards' standing becomes involved with someone from a different background, there are often complications. Jonathan stood up abruptly. Patricia, you're out of line. I'm protecting your interests. No, you're insulting the woman I love and the children who saved my life. If you can't treat them with the respect they deserve, you can leave. Patricia looked shocked. In all her years of representing Jonathan, she had never seen him lose his temper over a personal matter. I'll draft the papers for Richard's promotion, she said stiffly. But I hope you'll reconsider these major life changes once you've had more time to think clearly. After she left, Kendra was quiet for a long time. That's what people are going to think, isn't it? She said finally, that I'm some kind of gold digger who took advantage of you when you were vulnerable. Some people might think that, but the people who matter won't. How do you know? Because anyone who knows you for 5 minutes can see exactly who you are. Kind, honest, hardworking, devoted to your children. The kind of woman any man would be lucky to love. That afternoon, Jonathan surprised them all by showing up at the twin school at pickup time. He had been in meetings all day, transitioning his responsibilities and setting up the changes that would allow him to work remotely. Mr. Kind, the twins shouted when they saw him running over for hugs. "How was school?" he asked. "Great. We told everyone about our new friend, who might become our new daddy." Heaven announced loudly enough for several other parents to hear. Kendra felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but Jonathan just laughed. "What did you tell them about me? That you're the nicest man in the world and you make the best pancakes." V said seriously. "And that you're going to help us take dance and art classes," Heaven added. "And that you love our mama," V finished. Several parents were now openly staring, and Kendra wished she could disappear. But Jonathan seemed completely comfortable with the attention. "All of that is true," he told. "The twins, especially the part about loving your mama." As they walked home, Kendra noticed how naturally Jonathan fit into their routine. He carried Na's backpack, listened to Heaven's story about a playground disagreement, and held Kendra's hand as if they had been together for years instead of days. "Jonathan," she said that evening after the twins were in bed, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest, always. Is this real for you, or is this some kind of reaction to the stress and trauma you've been through?" Jonathan was quiet for so long that Kendra began to worry she had offended him. "Do you want to know what I was doing the day I collapsed?" he said. "Finally, if you want to tell me. I was in my office at 6 o'clock in the morning, working on a deal that would make the company another $50 million. I hadn't eaten dinner the night before, hadn't slept more than 3 hours in days. I was staring at spreadsheets and thinking that I couldn't remember the last time I had felt truly happy. And then, I woke up here in your living room with 2 little girls worried about a stranger and a woman who showed me more kindness in one day than I had experienced in years. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I mattered as a person, not just as a source of profit or a business decision. But that doesn't mean you want to change your whole life. Kendra, my old life was killing me, literally," the doctor said. "If I hadn't collapsed when I did, I was heading for a heart attack within months." He took her hands in his. "You and the girls didn't just save my life. You showed me what life could be if I had the courage to choose happiness over success." "And you're sure that's what you want?" "Happiness over success. I want both. I want to be successful at being a good husband and father. I want to build something that matters more than money. I want to use my resources to make the world better for people like you and the girls. People who work hard and deserve more than just survival." Kendra looked into his eyes and saw nothing but sincerity and determination. "Okay," she said finally. Okay, let's see where this goes. But slowly, Jonathan. I need time to adjust to all this." "We have all the time in the world," he said, pulling her close. "I'm not going anywhere." Over the next few weeks, Jonathan proved his commitment in ways both large and small. He kept his promise to work remotely, taking meetings from Kendra's kitchen table and running his billion-dollar company. Between school pickups and bedtime stories, the twins grew more attached to him each day, and Kendra found herself falling deeper in love with a man who had chosen their simple life over his complicated one. But it wasn't always easy. Mama Na said one morning over breakfast, Lucy Chin at school says, "We're lying about Mr. K being rich." Why would she say that? Kendra asked, though. She had a feeling she knew. Because if he was really rich, we'd be living in a mansion and wearing fancy clothes. Jonathan looked up from his laptop. "What did you tell her?" "I told her that Mr. Kind is rich in all the ways that matter," Heaven said proudly, "like love and kindness and making good pancakes." But she laughed at us. Na added, her feelings clearly hurt. Kendra and Jonathan exchanged glances. They had been so focused on maintaining normally for the girls that they hadn't considered how their situation might look to others. Would you like me to come to school with you today? Jonathan asked. I could meet your teacher, maybe clear up any confusion. Would you? Nah, asked hopefully. Of course, but first let me ask you something. Do you want people to know I have money? Both girls considered this seriously. Not really. Heaven said finally, we like you because you're nice, not because you're rich. But it would be cool if Lucy Chin knew we weren't lying. Nah, added honestly. That afternoon, Jonathan accompanied them to school pickup. He had traded his usual casual clothes for a perfectly tailored business suit, and the difference was striking. This was clearly a man of importance and wealth. Several parents did double takes as he approached with Kendra and the twins. When Mrs. Rodriguez, the twins' teacher, came over to meet him, her eyes widened. In recognition, Mr. Richards, Jonathan Richards from Richards Industries. Yes, ma'am. I wanted to thank you for taking such good care of Na and Heaven. They're wonderful girls, but I have to say I'm surprised to see you here. These are my girls, Jonathan said simply, putting his arms around the twins. And this is a woman I love, he added, pulling Kendra close. They're my family. Mrs. Rodriguez looked confused but pleased. That's wonderful. The girls are very lucky. I'm the lucky one, Jonathan said. Now, I understand there may have been some questions about my relationship with the family. I hope this clears things up. Word spread quickly through the school pickup line. By the time they left, everyone knew that the mysterious Mr. Kind, who had been living with the Johnson family, was actually one of the wealthiest men in the country. How do you feel about that? Kendra asked as they walked home. Like I just painted a target on our backs, Jonathan admitted, but also relieved. I'm tired of hiding who I am. And what about you girls? Kendra asked. The twins. Lucy Chen's going to be really surprised tomorrow, Heaven said with satisfaction. The next few days brought the attention Jonathan had predicted. Reporters showed up at the school asking questions about the Billionaire's new family. Photographers waited outside their house. Kendra's phone rang constantly with calls from people she hadn't heard from in years. This is exactly what I was afraid of, Kendra told Jonathan as they watched a news van park across the street. I know, but it will die down. This kind of story only stays interesting for so long. What if it doesn't? What if this is our life now? Jonathan considered this. Then we adapt. But Kendra, I won't let anyone hurt you or the girls. Whatever it takes to protect our privacy, we'll do it. The breaking point came when a reporter approached Nvi and Heaven outside their school, asking them personal questions about their home life. The twins came home in tears, overwhelmed by the attention and confused by the stranger's intrusive questions. That's it, Jonathan said when he heard what happened. We're moving. What? Not far. Just to somewhere more private, more secure. I should have done this weeks ago. Jonathan, we can't just run away from problems. We're not running away. We're protecting our family. Over the next few days, Jonathan worked with a security firm to find him a safe, private place to live. What he found was a beautiful house in a gated community, just 20 minutes from the twin school. It was large enough to give them all space, but not so ostentatious as to make them uncomfortable. It has 6 bedrooms, he told them excitedly as he showed them pictures. One for each of the girls, one for us, one for guests, one for an office, and one we can turn into an art studio for Na. Us? Kendra asked, raising an eyebrow. Jonathan blushed. I mean, separate rooms for now. Obviously, I'm hoping that eventually. Let's see the house first, Kendra said. But she was smiling. The house was perfect. Modern but warm, spacious, but not overwhelming. The twins fell in love with it immediately, especially when they saw the big backyard and the swimming pool. Can we really live here? Heaven asked in wonder. If your mama says yes, Jonathan replied. What do you think, girls? Kendra asked. Should we give it a try? Yes, both twins shouted. The move happened quickly and efficiently. Jonathan hired professional movers who packed everything carefully and transferred their belongings to the new house without breaking a single thing. He also arranged for interior decorators to help them choose furniture that would make the house feel like home. I wanted to feel like our old house, Kendra told the decorator. Comfortable and lived in, not like a museum. Of course, Mr. Richards. Explained that you want elegance, but with a family-friendly atmosphere. When everything was finished, the house was beautiful, but still felt like them. The twins' artwork hung on the walls next to expensive paintings. Family photos were displayed on marble mantels, and their old, comfortable furniture was mixed with new pieces that complemented rather than replaced their existing style. It's perfect, Kendra breathed as she stood in their new living room. It's home, Jonathan said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. The twins had already claimed their new rooms and were running through the house with excitement, exploring every corner and calling out discoveries to each other. Jonathan, Kendra said that evening, as they sat on their new patio, watching girls swim, I need to tell you something. What's that? I've been thinking about what you said about wanting to use your resources to help people. I have an idea. I'm listening. What if we start a foundation? Something focused on helping single mothers and their children. Housing assistance, job training, childcare, education, support. Jonathan's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. You know exactly what families need because you've lived it. I was thinking we could call it the Angel Foundation after my twin angels who found you and changed all our lives. I love it. We could start with your old neighborhood. Help families like yours was. Really, Kendra? Nothing would make me happier than spending my money on something that actually matters, something that helps people instead of just making more money. They spent the evening planning their foundation, talking excitedly about programs they could fund and lives they could change. For the first time since learning about Jonathan's wealth, Kendra felt truly comfortable with it. This wasn't about charity or guilt. It was about using their blessings to bless others. The next few weeks settled into a new routine. Jonathan worked from his home office, managing his business remotely with the help of his newly promoted president, Richard. The twins adjusted quickly to their new school and made friends with other children in the neighborhood. Kendra started working part-time at the foundation they were establishing, using her experience to design programs that would really help struggling families. I've never been happier, she told Jonathan one evening as they cooked dinner together in their beautiful new kitchen. Neither have I. This feels like the life I was always supposed to be living, even though it's so different from what you had before, especially because it's different. I used to measure success by how much money I made or how many deals I closed. Now I measure it by whether Heaven learned a new dance move or if V finished a painting she's proud of. And how are you doing by those measurements? Better than I ever did in business. That weekend, they had their first real test as a blended family. Jonathan's business associate, Michael Thompson, came to visit with his wife and teenage daughter. Michael had been Jonathan's closest friend in the business world, and Jonathan was nervous about introducing him to his new life. Just be yourselves, he told Kendra and the twins before the Thompsons arrived. If Michael can't see how amazing you are, that's his problem. The Thompsons were polite, but clearly puzzled by Jonathan's dramatic life change. Mrs. Thompson made polite conversation with Kendra while obviously wondering how a cleaning lady had managed to capture a billionaire's heart. Their daughter, Ashley, was bored and spent most of the visit on her phone. But then something magical happened. During dinner, Nivea quietly asked Ashley if she'd like to see her art room. Something about the little girl's shy pride in her paintings melted Ashley's teenage cynicism, and soon she would genuinely engage with both twins, asking about their school and their hobbies. You're really good at this, Ashley told Nah as she looked at her latest painting. Have you ever thought about being a real artist? I am a real artist, Nivea said matter-of-factly. Mr. K says anyone who makes art is an artist. By the end of the evening, Ashley was laughing at Heaven's stories and asking if she could come back to see more of Nivea's artwork. "Your girls are special," Michael told Jonathan as they said goodbye. "I've never seen Ashley connect with anyone that quickly. They have that effect on people," Jonathan said proudly. "And Kendra seems lovely. Different from what I expected, but lovely. What did you expect?" Michael looked embarrassed. "Honestly, I thought you were having some kind of midlife crisis. But seeing you all together, seeing how happy you are, I think maybe you found something the rest of us are still looking for." "What's that?" "A real life instead of just a successful one." After the Thompsons left, Jonathan found Kendra sitting on their back patio, looking thoughtful. "Penny, for your thoughts," he said, settling beside her. "I was just thinking about what your friend said about finding a real life. What about it? Do you ever miss it? Your old life? The excitement of big business deals, the power, the status?" Jonathan was quiet for a moment, considering her question seriously. "Do you know what I did for excitement in my old life?" he asked finally. "What?" "I bought companies. Hundreds of millions of dollars changing hands in a single afternoon. Boardroom battles that could make or break entire industries." "That sounds exciting." "It was for about 5 minutes. Then it was just another deal, another number on a spreadsheet." You took her hand. "You want to know what real excitement feels like?" "What?" "Watching Heaven nail a dance routine she's been practicing for weeks. Seeing Na's face when she finishes a painting she's proud of. Coming home every day to a family that's actually happy to see me." "Really, Kendra?" "I used to close billion-dollar deals and feel nothing. Yesterday, I helped Na fix a broken crayon and felt like I'd conquered the world." "That's because you're a natural father. I'm learning to be, and I love every minute of it." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the sound of the twins playing inside. "Jonathan," Kendra said eventually, "I want to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Always. Do you want children of your own? Biological children?" Jonathan turned to look at her directly. "Kendra, Nvia, and Heaven are my children. Maybe not by biology, but in every way that matters. I love them like they're my own because they are my own. But if we got married, if we had kids together, then I would love those children, too. But not more than I love the daughters I already have." Kendra felt tears spring to her eyes. "You really mean that?" "I've never meant anything more in my life." That night, as they tucked the twins into bed in their beautiful new rooms, Kendra realized that all her fears about losing herself in Jonathan's world had been unfounded. Instead of changing who they were, his love and resources had simply allowed them to become the best versions of themselves. "Mama," Heaven said as Kendra kissed her goodnight, "are you going to marry Mr. Kind? Would you like that?" "Yes." "Then he could really be our daddy forever." "We'll see, sweetheart. Good things take time, but not too much time, right?" Na added from her bed. "Because we don't want him to change his mind." Kendra laughed. "I don't think you need to worry about that." As she and Jonathan walked down the hallway to their separate bedrooms, something that was becoming more difficult each night, he caught her hand. "Kendra, yes, Heaven's right about not taking too much time. I know we agreed to go slowly, but I also know I love you more every day. And I know I want to spend the rest of my life being the man who deserves you and those girls." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that when you're ready, whenever you're ready, I'd like to ask you to marry me officially with a ring and a proposal and everything." Kindred's heart raced. "And when you do ask, when I do ask, the answer will be yes." Jonathan's smile could have powered their entire house. "Really? Really? I love you, Jonathan Richards. The real you. The man who makes pancakes and reads bedtime stories and believes that little girls' dreams are worth making come true. I love you too, all of you, more than I ever thought possible." As they said good night and went to their separate rooms, both of them knew that their careful pace of taking things slowly was about to accelerate. Dramatically, they had found their forever family, and neither of them wanted to wait any longer to make it. Official. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new joys. But tonight, they were exactly where they belonged, home with the people they loved most in the world. The proposal came on a Tuesday morning in the most perfectly ordinary way possible. Jonathan was making pancakes while Kendra packed the twins' lunches, and Heaven was telling them about a dream she'd had where they all lived in a castle together. And in the dream, Mr. Kind was wearing a crown, and Mama had a beautiful dress, and Na and I were princesses. Heaven said excitedly, "What kind of crown was I wearing?" Jonathan asked, flipping a pancake with theatrical flair. "A sparkly one. And you said you wanted to marry Mama in the dream." Jonathan caught Kendra's eye across the kitchen and smiled. "Did I? That sounds like a very smart dream. Me, are you going to marry Mama?" Na asked directly with the bluntness that only 8-year-olds can manage. "Well," Jonathan said, setting down a spatula and walking over to where Kendra stood frozen by the counter. "That depends on whether she'll say yes." And then to Kendra's complete shock, he dropped to one knee right there in their kitchen and pulled out a ring box. "Kendra Johnson," he said, his voice shaking slightly, "you and your daughter saved my life in every way a person can be saved. You showed me what real love looks like, what family means, what it feels like to be valued for who I am instead of what I own. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life being the husband and father this family deserves?" The twins screamed with excitement, jumping up and down and clapping their hands. Kendra stared at the ring, a beautiful, elegant diamond that was stunning without being ostentatious. "You planned this," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I've been carrying that ring for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. This morning, listening to Heaven talk about her dream, I realized the right moment was right now. In our kitchen with our girls, making breakfast, together like we do every day." "Yes," Kendra whispered. "Yes, yes," she said, louder, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, I'll marry you." The twins cheered as Jonathan slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her right there next to the stove where the pancakes were starting to burn. "We're getting married," Heaven announced to no one in particular. "We're going to be a real family," not added. "We already are a real family," Jonathan said, hugging all 3 of them at once. "Now, we're just going to make it official. The wedding." Planning began immediately with the twins having very strong opinions about everything from flowers to cake flavors. "I want to be a flower girl," Heaven announced. "Me too," Na said. "Can we both be flower girls?" "Of course you can both be flower girls." Kendra said it's your wedding, too. "Really? Really? When Jonathan marries me, he's also officially becoming your daddy. So we'll have a ceremony for all of us." Jonathan's eyes filled with tears. "I'd like that very much." They decided on a small ceremony in their backyard with just close friends and the family that mattered most to them. Jonathan's assistant, Richard, would serve as best man, and Kendra's sister, Marie, would fly in from California to be her maid of honor. "Are you sure you don't want something bigger?" Jonathan asked as they planned. "We could have it at a hotel. Invite business associates." "Do you want something bigger?" "I want whatever makes you happy." "Then I want our backyard. Our friends, our family. I want the twins to be able to run around and play. I want it to feel like us." 2 weeks later, their backyard was transformed into a wedding wonderland. White flowers everywhere, twinkling lights strung through the trees, and a small altar where they would promise to love each other forever. The twins wore matching pale pink dresses and carried baskets of rose petals. They took their flower girl duties very seriously, walking down the makeshift aisle with solemn concentration before breaking into giggles when they reached the altar. When Kendra appeared in her simple but elegant white dress, Jonathan's breath caught in his throat. She was beautiful, but more than that, she was radiant with happiness. "You look like a princess, Mama," Heaven whispered loudly as Kendra reached the altar. "Thank you, baby." The ceremony was officiated by Judge Martinez, an old friend of Jonathan's who had agreed to perform the service. But before he began the traditional vows, Jonathan asked for a moment to speak. "I want to say something to all of you," he said, looking around at their small group of loved ones. 3 months ago, I was a different person living a different life. I thought success meant working 18-hour days and accumulating wealth. I thought happiness was something that happened to other people. He turned to look at Kendra and the twins. And then these three angels found me when I was lost, literally and figuratively, and showed me what life is actually supposed to be about. They taught me that love isn't something you earn through achievement. They taught me that family isn't about blood relation, but about choosing to care for each other every single day. Mr. Kine now interrupted softly. "You're making Mama cry." Jonathan laughed, wiping his own eyes. "Happy tears, sweetheart. These are happy tears." The vows themselves were simple but heartfelt. Jonathan promised to love and protect Kendra and the twins, to put their family first in all his decisions, and to be the husband and father they deserved. Kendra promised to love Jonathan for who he was, not what he owned, to support his dreams while pursuing her own, and to build a life together based on kindness, respect, and joy. But the most touching moment came when Judge Martinez asked if there were any other vows to be exchanged. "Actually," Jonathan said, turning to the twins, "I have something for Na and Heaven." He pulled out 2 small jewelry boxes and knelt down to the twins' level. "These are promise rings," he explained. "They're my promise to you that I will always be your daddy, that I will always love you, and that I will always protect you. You don't have to wear them if you don't want to, but I wanted you to have something that shows you're just as important in this ceremony as your mama." Both girls' eyes went wide as they opened their boxes to reveal delicate rings with small hearts. "Really?" Heaven whispered. "Really? You're my daughters now, officially and forever." There wasn't a dry eye in the backyard as the twins hugged their new daddy and slipped on their rings. "Now are we married?" Not asked. "Now we're married." Judge Martinez confirmed with a smile. "Mr. Richards, you may kiss your bride and your daughters." The celebration afterward was exactly what Kendra had hoped for. Joyful, relaxed, and filled with laughter. The twins ran around the backyard, the other children in attendance, showing off their rings and their new daddy to anyone who would. "Listen, they're so happy," Marie observed as she and Kendra watched the girls play. "We all are. I never thought I could be this happy. He's good for you and amazing with the girls. He loves them like they're his own. They're his own now." As the evening wounded down and the last guest departed, the new family of 4 sat together on their back patio, still in their wedding clothes, watching the stars come out. "So," Jonathan said, "how does it feel to be Mrs. Richards?" "Like the luckiest woman in the world," Kendra replied, snuggling closer to her new husband. "And how does it feel to have a new daddy?" Jonathan asked the twins. "Perfect," Heaven said, sleepily from her spot curled up in his lap. "The best," not added from where she was leaning against Kendra. "I have an idea," Jonathan said. "What would you think about taking a family honeymoon?" "What's a honeymoon?" Evan asked. "It's a special trip that married people take together to celebrate being married." "Where would we go?" Not asked excitedly. "Anywhere you want. Disney World, Hawaii, Europe, whatever sounds fun to you." The twins started chattering excitedly about all the places they'd like to visit, but Kendra was quiet. "What's wrong?" Jonathan asked softly. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect. I'm just thinking about how much our lives have changed. Good changes, the best changes. 3 months ago, I was working 3 jobs and worrying about paying the rent. Now I'm married to the most wonderful man in the world, living in a beautiful house, starting a foundation to help other families. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to make sure it's real." "It's real," Jonathan assured her, "and it's forever. Promise. I promise. We're a family now, officially and legally, and in every way that matters." As they finally headed inside to get the twins ready for bed, Kendra reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. A random Tuesday morning, when two little girls found a stranger in their yard had changed all their lives in ways they never could have imagined. "Mama," Heaven said as Kendra tucked her into bed, "is this what happily ever after feels like?" "Yes, sweetheart. This is exactly what it feels like." "Good. I like happily ever after." "Me too, baby. Me too." 6 months into their marriage, the Richards family had settled into a rhythm of happiness that seemed almost too good to be true. Jonathan had successfully transitioned to working primarily from home. The twins were thriving in their new school, and Kendra had thrown herself into running the Angel Foundation with passion and purpose. Mrs. Rodriguez called today. Kendra told Jonathan as they prepared dinner together one evening, "We've helped 15 families find stable housing this month alone. That's incredible. You should be proud of what you've built." "What we've built," she corrected. "None of this would be possible without your support." Jonathan smiled and kissed her temple. "I'm just the money. You're the heart and soul of everything we do." The twins burst through the kitchen door, fresh from their after-school activities. Heaven had just finished dance class, and now was covered in paint from her art lesson. "Daddy," Heaven announced, using the title that still made Jonathan's heart skip a beat every time. "I learned a new routine. Today, want to see always," Jonathan said, wiping his hands on a dish towel, as Heaven demonstrated her new dance moves in their spacious kitchen, with Na providing enthusiastic commentary, and Kendra laughing at Jonathan's attempts to copy the steps, their house filled with the kind of joyful chaos that had become their normal. "We got our pictures back from art class," V said, pulling out a folder from her backpack. "Look what I painted." The painting was of their family, for figures holding hands in front of a house with a big sun shining overhead and flowers everywhere. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Kendra said. "What's the title?" "My Forever Family," Nivea announced proudly. Jonathan had to excuse himself to the bathroom for a moment to compose himself. Even after all these months, the twins' complete acceptance of him as their father still overwhelmed him with gratitude. That evening, after the girls were asleep, Jonathan found Kendra in their home office working on foundation paperwork. "How late are you planning to work?" he asked, massaging her shoulders. "Just finishing up the applications for next month's housing assistance program. We have 37 families on the waiting list. What would it take to help all of them? More funding, more staff, more resources." "Why?" Jonathan sat down beside her. "What if I told you we could expand the foundation significantly? What if we could help hundreds of families instead of dozens?" "I'd say that sounds wonderful, but probably impossible." "Nothing's impossible when you have the resources we have." Jonathan pulled out his laptop and showed her a financial projection. "I've been working with our accountants. We could triple the foundation's budget without affecting our family's financial security at all." Kendra stared at the numbers on the screen. "Jonathan, this is millions of dollars. Money we're not using for anything else. Money that could change thousands of lives. But what about your business, your other investments?" "They'll be fine. Richard is doing an amazing job running day-to-day operations. And honestly, Kendra, I care more about one family finding stable housing through our foundation than I do about any business deal I've ever made." "You really mean that?" "I've never meant anything more. This foundation, our family, the life we're building together, this is what matters to me. Now." Kendra closed her laptop and turned to face her husband fully. "Do you know what I love most about you?" "What?" "You don't just write checks and call it charity. You actually care about the people we're helping. You remember their names, their stories. You treat them with dignity and respect. I learned that from you, from the way you treated me when I was the one who needed help. We saved each other," Kendra said softly. "Yes, we did." Their conversation was interrupted by a small voice from the doorway. "Mama, Daddy, I had a bad dream." Heaven stood in the hallway in her pajamas, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. "Come here, sweetheart," Jonathan said, opening his arms. Heaven climbed into his lap and snuggled against his chest. "I dreamed that you went away and didn't come back." "Oh, baby," Kendra said, moving closer. "That was just a bad dream. Daddy's not going anywhere. Promise." "I promise," Jonathan said firmly. "I will never leave you. Heaven, you're stuck with me forever." "Good," Heaven said, already starting to fall back asleep. "I like being stuck with you." As Jonathan carried Heaven back to her room, Kendra marveled at how naturally fatherhood had come to him. He had never raised children before, but he seemed to instinctively know exactly what the twins needed. "She's been having more nightmares lately," Kendra told him when he returned. "About me leaving, about our life changing again. I think all the happiness we found is almost too good for her to believe it's permanent. What can we do to help her feel more secure?" Kendra considered this. Maybe we could do something to make our commitment to being a family more official in their eyes. Like what? Like adoption, legal adoption. So that, no matter what happens, you're their father in the eyes of the law. Jonathan's face lit up. "Really? You'd want that, Jonathan? You've been their father in every way that matters since the day we met. Making it legal just seems like the right thing to do. When can we start the process?" Kendra laughed. "Tomorrow if you want, but we should probably ask the girls how they feel about it first." The next morning at breakfast, they broached the subject with the twins. "Girls," Kendra said carefully, "Daddy and I want to talk to you about something important." Both twins immediately looked worried. "Are you getting divorced?" "Nah," asked fearfully. "No," Jonathan said quickly. "Nothing like that. We're talking about making our family even more official." "How?" Evan asked. "Well," Kendra explained, "right now, Daddy is your stepfather. But if you wanted, we could ask the judge to make him your legal father, too. It's called adoption." "What would that mean?" V asked. "It would mean that legally, officially, and forever, you would be Jonathan Richards' daughters. Your last name could be Richards, too, if you wanted." The twins looked at each other, having one of their silent twin conversations. "Would we still be your daughters too, Mama?" Heaven asked. "Of course, sweetheart. You'd have two parents who love you very much, and we'd be Daddy's real daughters." V asked, "You're already my real daughters?" Jonathan said softly, "This would just make it official." "Yes." Both twins said simultaneously. "Yes, yes, we want to be adopted." Heaven clarified, "We want to be Richard's girls. We want to be official, not added." 6 weeks later, they stood in a courtroom before Judge Martinez, who had married them and was now completing their family in an entirely different way. "This is a very special day," the judge said as he reviewed the adoption papers. "Now in Heaven, do you understand what adoption means?" "It means Daddy becomes our daddy forever and ever," Heaven said seriously, "and nobody can ever take him away from us." V added, "That's exactly right." "And Jonathan, do you promise to love and care for these girls as if they were your biological daughters?" "They are my daughters," Jonathan said, his voice thick with emotion. "Biology doesn't make a family. Love does. Then, by the power vested in me by the state, I hereby finalize the adoption of Nod Johnson and Heaven Johnson by Jonathan Richards. You are now officially and legally the Richards family." The courtroom erupted in cheers from their small group of supporters. The twins threw themselves into Jonathan's arms, calling him Daddy with extra emphasis and giggling with pure joy. "We're really a family now," Heaven announced to the courtroom at large. "We were always a family," Jonathan corrected gently. "Now everyone else knows it too." That evening, they celebrated with a family dinner at the twins' favorite restaurant. As they sat around the table, officially and legally the Richards family, Kendra reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. "A penny for your thoughts," Jonathan said, noticing her contemplative mood. "I was just thinking about that morning when the girls found you. How scared I was to let a stranger into our house. And now, I can't imagine our lives without you in them. Mama Na said, can we tell people at school tomorrow that we're officially adopted? Of course you can, sweetheart. And that our last name is Richards now. Yes, that too. This is the best day ever. Heaven declared. I agree, Jonathan said, raising his glass of water in a toast. To the Richards family, may we always be as happy as we are right now. To forever, Kendra added. To forever, the twins echoed as they clinked glasses and laughed together in the restaurant. Other diners couldn't help but smile at the obvious love and joy radiating from their table. Here was a family that had found each other against all odds and chosen to build something beautiful together. And this was just the beginning of their happily ever after. 1 year later, the Richards family had grown in ways none of them had anticipated, not just in love and happiness, but literally Kendra was 6 months pregnant with their first child together. Do you think the baby will like us? Heaven asked for the 100th time as she helped fold tiny baby clothes in the nursery. The baby will love you, Kendra assured her. You're going to be the best big sisters in the world. But what if the baby likes our little sister more? Because she's really Daddy's baby? Nah worried. Jonathan looked up from where he was assembling a crib. Nah, come here, sweetheart. She walked over to him, and he lifted her onto his lap. Do you remember when we talked about what makes a family? Love makes a family. That's right. And I love you exactly the same way I'm going to love this baby. There's no difference between you and heaven and this little one in my heart. You're all my daughters. Period. Promise? I promise. In fact, I have something for you both. Jonathan reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 small boxes. Inside each was a necklace with a pendant that read, Big Sister. These are special necklaces for the most important big sisters in the world, he explained as he helped them put the necklaces on. When people see these, they'll know how special you are. The twins beamed with pride, immediately running to look at themselves in the nursery mirror. We're going to be the best big sisters ever. Heaven declared. The baby is so lucky to have us. Nivea agreed. The Angel Foundation had grown exponentially under Kendra's leadership. They now had offices in 3 cities and had helped over 500 families find stable housing, job training, and educational opportunities. Kendra had been featured in several magazines as a philanthropist to watch, but she remained focused on the work rather than the recognition. Mrs. Richards, her assistant, Sandra, said as Kendra finished a meeting with potential donors, "There's someone here to see you. She says her name is Lisa Miller and that you helped her family last year." Kendra smiled. "Send her in." A young woman entered with 2 small children hiding behind her legs. Kendra remembered them. Lisa had been a single mother of twins, which had made Kendra feel an immediate connection, who had been living in her car when she applied for help from the foundation. Mrs. Richards, Lisa said, tears in her eyes, "I wanted to thank you and to show you what your help made possible." Lisa's transformation was remarkable. She looked healthy, confident, and happy. Her children were clean, well-dressed, and clearly thriving. "Look at you," Kendra said, giving Lisa a warm hug. "You look wonderful. I got the job at the accounting firm, just like you said I would. The twins are doing great in school, and we just moved into our own apartment, not transitional housing, but our own place that we can afford on my salary." "That's incredible, Lisa. I'm so proud of you." "I brought you something," Lisa said, handing Kendra a photo. It was a picture of Lisa and her twins at their apartment complex playground, all 3 of them laughing and playing together. "I want you to put this somewhere in your office," Lisa said, "so you can remember that what you do here changes real lives. You saved us, Mrs. Richards, just like someone once saved you." After Lisa left, Kendra sat in her office looking at the photo and thinking about the ripple effects of kindness. Someone, her twins and Jonathan, really had saved her family. Now she was helping save other families. And someday, Maybe some of those families would help. Save others. Deep thoughts, Jonathan asked, appearing in her doorway, just thinking about how everything connects. How one act of kindness can change so many lives. Speaking of acts of kindness, Jonathan said, settling into the chair across from her desk. I have some news. Good news or bad news? Definitely good news. Richard called this morning. The board has approved my proposal to donate 50% of all company profits to charitable causes. Kendra's eyes widened. 50%. Jonathan, that's hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Money that can build schools, fund medical research, provide housing for families in need. Your board actually approved that. They did. Turns out when you frame it as a long-term investment in building stronger communities, which creates better business environments, which increases long-term profitability, corporate boards are surprisingly supportive. You're amazing, Kendra said, getting up to kiss her husband. We're amazing. This was your idea, remember? You're the one who said we should use our blessings to bless others. That evening, the Richards family had dinner with their extended, chosen family. Richard and his wife had become close friends. Patricia Wells had surprisingly become a warm supporter of their family, and Dr. Stevens, who had helped Jonathan recover his memory, had become like an uncle to the twins. I have an announcement, Jonathan said as they finished their meal. Kendra and I have been talking, and we've decided to establish a new scholarship program. What kind of scholarship? Richard asked. Full college scholarship for children from single-parent households. We want to make sure that kids like Na and Heaven, kids whose mothers are working multiple jobs just to keep food on the table, have every opportunity to achieve their dreams. We're going to call it the Twin Angel Scholarship Program. Kendra added, after the two little girls who changed all our lives. That's beautiful, Patricia said. How many scholarships? Will you provide a start? 50 per year. But we hope to grow it to hundreds eventually. Dr. Stevens raised his glass to the power of love to transform not just individual lives, but entire communities to family. Richard added, to second chances, Patricia contributed. To angels in disguise, Jonathan said, looking at his wife and daughters as their friends toasted in the twins. Giggle with excitement about being the inspiration for a scholarship program. Kendra felt a familiar sense of overwhelming gratitude for the life they had built together. Later that night, as they lay in bed feeling their baby move, and kick, Jonathan and Kendra talked about their dreams of the future. Do you ever miss your old life? Kendra asked. The simplicity of just being responsible for yourself. Never, Jonathan said without hesitation. My old life was just existing. This is living. Even with all the chaos, pregnancy, hormones, twins who leave art supplies everywhere, foundation work that keeps me busy 12 hours a day, especially because of all that. Do you know what I did last Tuesday? What? I spent 2 hours helping Heaven practice her dance routine for the school talent show. 2 hours that I used to spend reviewing quarterly reports, and it was the best 2 hours of my week. And yesterday I taught Na how to mix colors for her painting. Watched her face light up when she figured out how to make the perfect shade of purple. That moment was worth more than any business deal I ever closed. Kendra shifted to face him more fully. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Raising the girls with so much privilege. I think we're raising them with love, responsibility, and an understanding that their advantages come with obligations to help others. Look at how excited they get about the foundation's work. Look at how they treat the other kids at school, regardless of their family's financial situations. They are pretty amazing kids. They are. And this little one, he said, placing his hand on her belly, is going to be raised by the best mother in the world and two big sisters who already love her fiercely. Him, Kendra corrected. Dr. Martinez confirmed it. Yesterday, we're having a son. Jonathan's face lit up with pure joy. A son? Really? Really? I was going to surprise you, but I couldn't wait. Hey, son, Jonathan repeated in wonder. Nah, and Heaven are going to have a little brother. Are you disappointed? I know. You've gotten used to being surrounded by girls. Disappointed? Kendra, I'm thrilled. A son to play catch with too. Teach about business. To show how to treat women with respect by watching how I treat his mother and sisters. What? Should we name him? What do you think? Kendra had been thinking about this for weeks. I like Gabriel. It means God's messenger. Like he's a messenger bringing us even more joy. Gabriel Richards, Jonathan said, testing the name. I love it. 3 months later, Gabriel Jonathan Richards entered the world on a sunny Saturday morning with his sisters and father anxiously waiting in the hospital room next door. Can we see him? Now, Heaven asked for the 10th time in 5 minutes. As soon as the doctors say he's ready for visitors, Jonathan promised. When they were finally allowed in, the twins approached their baby brother with reverence and awe. He's so tiny and V, whispered, and perfect, Heaven added. Would you like to hold him? Kendra asked. Both girls nodded eagerly with careful supervision. Each twin got to hold their baby brother, their faces glowing with love and pride. Hi, Gabriel, Heaven said softly. I'm your big sister, Heaven. I'm going to teach you how to dance. And I'm V, the other twin said. I'm going to teach you how to paint and how to be brave. And I'm your daddy, Jonathan said when it was his turn to hold his son. I'm going to teach you how to be kind, how to work hard, and how to love your family more than anything else in the world. As Jonathan held his son for the first time, looking at this perfect little person who was half him and half the woman he loved, he felt his heart expand in ways he hadn't known were possible. He's beautiful, he said, tears streaming down his face. He looks like you, Kendra observed. He has your nose, Jonathan countered. And our eyes, Heaven pointed out. He has the same eyes as all of us. She was right. Gabriel had the same warm, expressive brown eyes that seemed to run in there. Chosen family. Welcome to the world, little man, Jonathan whispered to his son. You have no idea how much love is waiting for you. The first few months of Gabriel's life were a whirlwind of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and the pure joy of watching their family grow. The twins threw themselves into big sister duties with enthusiasm, always eager to help feed the baby, read to him, or just sit quietly while he slept. Look, Mama, V said one afternoon as she colored quietly near Gabriel's crib. I made a picture of our whole family. The drawing showed 6 figures now. Kendra, Jonathan, the twins, baby Gabriel, and a new addition that made Kendra's breath catch. Whose? That? She asked, pointing to the 6th figure. That's the new baby, V said matter-of-factly. What new baby? The one in your tummy. Heaven, and I can tell. You have the same happy glow you had when Gabriel was in there. Kendra and Jonathan exchanged glances. They had suspected but hadn't confirmed yet. Should we take a test? Jonathan asked. Quietly. 2 pink lines later, they had their answer. Another baby? Heaven asked excitedly when they told the girls. Another baby? Kendra confirmed. This is the best family ever, Nivea declared. And as they sat together in their living room, Jonathan holding Gabriel, the twins snuggled on either side of Kendra, talking excitedly about names and whether the new baby would be a boy or girl. Kendra reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. Less than 3 years ago, she had been a struggling single mother, working multiple jobs and wondering how she would ever give her daughters the life they deserved. Now she was surrounded by more love and happiness than she had ever dreamed possible. Mama, Heaven said, interrupting her. Thoughts? Do you remember when we found Daddy by the tree? Of course I remember. Do you think that was magic? Kendra looked at her husband, who was gently bouncing their baby son while making silly faces at Gabriel, gurgling with delight. She looked at her daughters confident and happy and secure in the knowledge that they were loved unconditionally. She thought about the foundation that was changing hundreds of lives, the scholarship program that would help thousands of children achieve their dreams, and the new baby growing inside her. "Yes, sweetheart," she said. "Finally, I think it was magic. The very best kind of magic there is." "What kind is that?" "Love magic. The kind that happens when people choose to be kind to each other, even when it's scary or difficult." "I like love magic," Na said sleepily. "Me too," Heaven agreed. "Me, 3, Jonathan added with a smile. As the sun set outside their beautiful home, the Richards family settled in for another evening of their perfectly imperfect, wonderfully chaotic, absolutely magical life together. They had found each other against all odds, chosen each other despite their differences, and built something beautiful together. And they lived happily ever after, just like in the fairy tales, except their story was real, and their love was strong enough to change not just their own lives, but the lives of countless others who would benefit from their kindness, generosity, and unwavering belief in the power of love to transform the world. The twin angels who had saved a stranger by an oak tree had become the foundation of family that would spend the rest of their lives saving others, one act of kindness at a time. Dear wonderful listeners, thank you for joining the Richards family on their incredible journey. Your support means the world to me. I'd love to hear from you. Which moment in the story touched your heart the most? Do you believe small acts of kindness can truly change everything? What did you think about Jonathan's transformation from workaholic billionaire to devoted family man? How did you feel about the twins' wisdom and pure hearts throughout the story? Which character resonated most with you, and why? Please share your thoughts, favorite moments, and any questions you have in the comments below. Your engagement helps me create even better stories for you. Please watch the next video. Thank you.